shirt is literally so wrinkly. Wrinkle, wrinkle, crinkle, crinkle, wrinkle, wrinkle, crinkle, crinkle. Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jesse, and today I'm kicking off another reading experiment where I read weirdly formatted books. It's been a minute since I've read a book with a sort of strange element to it, and I feel like my life has been missing out in that sense. I need something to come into my life and just shake things up, and I'm hoping that this does just that. I live for bringing out of the norm books into my reading life because if I read the same thing over and over again, including the same format over and over again, things get stale real quick. And we've got to throw out that bag of stale reader chips and bring in a fresh new bag of reader chips to munch on. Some of the more notable weirdly formatted books that I've read in the past and really loved are books like LMNOP. This story is told through a mixed media format. There's so many elements that are brought into the story that just like make it super unique and super exciting. You never know what the next page is going to be formatted with, and that just brings in so much excitement. It's a trilogy that I thoroughly enjoyed from beginning to end, though I will say that the middle book is my favorite. Gemina Lovers Unite. Where are my Gemina lovers at? It's a sci-fi adventure with lots and lots of chaos. In fact, if it's got one thing going for it, it's chaos. Night Film is another one that comes to mind. It also brings in mixed media through articles and newspaper clippings. It also used to have an app element where you could scan things into this Night Film app and you could interact with it. I don't think that the app is active anymore, but when this book was released, it did have an app that went along with it. It's a very thrillery, murdery mystery situation, and I love me a thrillery, murdery mystery situation. There have also been books that have brought in some kind of unique format that just didn't really hit for me. The one that comes to mind is I Hate Everyone But You. This book is told in a series of text messages and emails, I believe. And I don't know if it was the format of the book that just didn't land with me or if it was just like the overall story, which honestly probably was the case now that I think about it. It follows these two girls who are best friends and they're going to separate colleges, and we follow them as they manage to maintain their friendship. I picked up 3 books for this video that are each told in very unique formats, and I'm super excited to read each of them. I'm going into this video with a few questions. 1, do I feel like the format works for the story itself? Like, do I feel like this story is executed well within this format? And then 2, why do I think the author chose this format for this specific story? Was it just to have a weird and strange format, or does it make sense? The first book that I'm going to be reading for this video, I have so many good choices for this video, but I think I'm gonna go with multiple choice. You guys can probably guess what format this book is told in. It is told in a test-like format. We've got multiple choice, we've got sentence completion, and we've got reading comprehension. It's the story about love and family, authoritarianism and its legacies, and the way in which, rather than learning to think for ourselves, we are trained to obey and repeat. Yes, I did just read that off the back of the book because I feel like it puts it perfectly. I am super excited about this book. Mind you, I hated school. I hated tests. Those of you who loved tests are a different breed. Let me tell you. I probably didn't need to tell you that because you already knew that. And yet I am very excited to take this test and see how I feel about it. Let's get started. Time for reading. I finished multiple choice and it was so good. And maybe it's because I agree with the author's take on tests. That could be why I liked it so much. And honestly, I don't know if I want to open that can of worms. Maybe I'll like slightly open the can. I'm all about education. Let me take off this hood. I'm all about education. I think education is important. Are there flaws within that system? Yes. Do I think there are flaws with some of the tests that occur? Yes! I feel like one of the big things that I have issues with when it comes to test taking is not even like necessarily the tests themselves. Like I don't think that tests are necessarily like a terrible thing, but I mostly feel like, gosh, the hair is just not hairing today. If I have a hat nearby, it'll do. Anyway, one of my big issues with tests and test taking is just like the immense amount of stress that it can cause people, and it's not good on people's health. I have other thoughts. If you want to know my thoughts, just read this book and you'll know, because I personally don't really want to crack into this topic. But again, I do believe the education system is important. I just also think there are flaws here and there, as I do with every system ever. What system isn't flawed? That's what I want to know. This one explores a specific test that takes place in Chile, or did take place. I think it's been like revamped or something. It's based off the Chilean Academic Aptitude Test. The test is split up into 5 different sections, and we see that format come into play in this book. It at times was like really bringing me back to my school days and test taking, and that wasn't necessarily the most fun thing to be brought back to. I was always much more of like a hands-on person. That's just like the kind of person I am. Sometimes I just need to see things in my hands and like work around with them to like understand them. I can't say that I like loved projects, but I much preferred them over tests. That I can say. This book does not only touch on test taking though, there are other elements that kind of come into play. There is a focus in here on family, and more specifically like complicated family relationships. There are times when topics that are brought up are kind of left to your interpretation. I can see how this could be a confusing book to read at times, but I really enjoyed the format, even though it was like bringing me back to my school days and hating tests and all of that. But I feel like it worked in a clever way, and the writing ends up kind of moving into this very poetic direction, and I really enjoyed it. I think I'm landing on a 4 out of 5 star rating with this book. Listen, if you're like the opposite of me and you loved test, you excelled at test, take it and read it. The next book that I'm reading for this video is probably the most tame when it comes to the format that it's written in. That book is LMNOP. This is a novel that is told in the format of letters, and it follows these people who live on a fictional island called Nolip. And this island was named after Nevin Nolip, who coined the phrase, "The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog." Quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Yes, that's what it is. That is mostly what I know about this book. I also know that there is an element that comes into play with like letters. Not like male letters, but like alphabet letters. Consider me intrigued. Time for reading. Let's take off our seatbelt for this. We're about to unleash a beast. Not really. This book was a lot of fun. A little dark when you really start to think about it, but for the most part, it was incredibly smart and witty and was an overall really fun and interesting read. The format itself is not the most weird or bizarre thing in the world. Like, it is a bunch of letters that the people on this island are writing, and a story told in a series of letters to me is not that strange or weird of a format, but there are things that happen later on that make those letters really fascinating, which I will get to in a second. I mention that though because I think that that format was perfect for this book. The humor in this book is all surrounding this statue and these letters that are dropping off of it. They have this like monument statue situation for Nevin Nolip. They think he is like a god, basically. He coined the phrase, "The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog." That phrase has every letter in the alphabet in it. And so these letters on the statue begin to drop, and because they think so highly of Mr. Nolip, they take it as a sign from God above that they should never, ever, ever use those letters again that are dropping. Not even a sign from God, a sign from Nolip, their god. So they basically begin to ban these letters from ever being used. We have these like in between pages, and every time a letter falls, it will get like censored on the letter page. And this makes things tricky because, as I said before, the format of this book is told in a bunch of letters. Like, people are writing letters, and these letters are getting more and more censored. So as you get farther into it, the letters kind of begin to get hard to read because they're not allowed to use certain letters in their writing. So they have to drop letters, and it just becomes a little confusing, a little weird, but that also like adds so much humor and adds kind of that cleverness in. And I feel like that's what makes this book just kind of over the top funny. Like, it's executed so well, and like, yeah, it is a fun book, like I've been saying, but then like the more that you think about it and you think about the punishments that are coming with this ban, with these letter bans, it like has you, or at least it had me, because I'm a spiraler, okay? I'm known for the spiral. It had me just like thinking about these people that we put on pedestals, and like it also like made me think of cults, honestly. Like, it brought forth like this idea of cults and how people think so highly of one single person and like put them on a pedestal. And a lot of times they're people that we should not be putting on pedestals. And this one was also just like weird as well because the statue, it was not a sign from above. It was just falling apart. I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I had a lot of fun with it. And I feel like if you're a writing and language lover or a letter lover, you will end up really enjoying this one as well. The next book that I am reading for this experiment where I read books with weird formats is actually the book that really kind of kicked off me wanting to do a video like this. It's kind of the inspiration, the backbone of this video, and that book is Several People Are Typing. This book is told through Slack messages. If you don't know what Slack is, it's a messaging system that is just used by a lot of businesses. And this book is about a guy who has been uploaded into his company's internal Slack system, and like, I guess he was literally taken from his body and uploaded into the system. Like, his soul was taken and put in the system is what I'm gathering. And the guy ends up being like, can I get back to my body, please? So he tries to enlist the help of his coworkers to find his body, track down his body. But then there are all these other things that are happening within this company, and like, it's falling apart, and so many things are just going wrong. It sounds like it's gonna be super chaotic and super funny, and I'm very intrigued. I really, really hope that it lives up to my expectations, because I kind of have high expectations going into this one. With that being said, it's time for reading. I'm also sweating, so I'm gonna turn my car on and get some air conditioning. Time for reading! Let's go! This was wild and so much fun. Oh my god. I feel like all the books I read in this video fall into that category, the so much fun category. Except the test one. Wrong. Got that answer wrong. That book did not fall into the fun category. I mean, it was a good read. I enjoyed it, but like, it's not like fun. Woohoo! Anyway, if you love fast-paced books with weird concepts that sometimes have you going, huh? This is the book for you. It's the one. You found your match. It is comedic, but then it also has this very horror feeling that's kind of looming about the book. I feel really bad for our main character Gerald because obviously he's taken from his body and he's just like shoved into this system and nobody believes him. Everybody's like, you're pulling our leg. This is a funny prank. Ha 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 ha. If someone messaged me on Slack and was like, hey, I'm stuck in here, like I was uploaded into this system, I'd be like, time to log off, Gerald. Go take a nap. And if you wake up from that nap and think that you're still within the system, then maybe get some help. So we see Gerald's back and forth with his coworkers, and then we see him with this like AI bot system. It is a story that is reliant on dialogue as it is built up around these Slack messages. So you're having to pick up on characters' personality styles and the character backgrounds through these conversations that are taking place on Slack. And I wasn't sure at first how I felt about it. I wasn't sure if it was going to be able to like really delve into a place where I felt like I got to know the characters. But then like the more that I read, the more that their personalities shone through the dialogue and through the messages, it really unravels into a place where you get to know a lot of the characters. I think this book has a potential to surprise a lot of people, both in the enjoyment that you will get out of reading this book, because like I feel like I kind of went into it a little bit like, I don't know how this is going to go. I was excited for the concept, like it sounded really cool, but you just never know how that execution is going to be. And then also the fact that it is like comedic and also has kind of some spooky vibes, that can be hard to kind of manage both of those elements, but the author really pulled it off. I will say it was kind of hard to get a feel for the author's writing style because it is just going based off the dialogue alone. Like we're not really getting much of his prose. Like it's all loaded into the dialogue. So I would be eager to read a book by this author written in a normal format. But speaking of format, I did love the Slack message format. How many times have I said the word format in this video? Probably too many times. It was such a fast read because of the fact that it was written in messages. And it was a book that I felt like needed to be told in this format. Like I think it worked out well. I think it makes sense because Slack itself plays such a huge role in Gerald being able to communicate with his coworkers. I am curious to know like if Slack were to ever be like Twitter and how Twitter is rebranding to X, how that would affect this book. Or if Slack was to kind of like fall off and never be used again, how will that affect the longevity of this novel? But I think about that often with books that kind of integrate social media elements into their books or even make mention of social media. Like it always makes me wonder like what that's going to do for the book down the line. Like those books feel like they're going to age out a little bit, but it also is like a sign of the times kind of thing. So I don't know, I kind of have mixed feelings when it comes to that and those elements within books. Overall though, I really enjoyed Several People Are Typing. I think I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5 stars. I think I'm gonna do it. Why not? It was fun. I enjoyed myself. I liked it a lot. So 5 out of 5 stars it is. I highly recommend it. We have reached the end of the video and I have to be honest with you guys. I was not expecting this video to go the way that it went. I was expecting to have a book in here or a couple books in here that I just really didn't like, but overall, I enjoyed each and every one of these books. Like this was a win of a video, a win of a reading experiment. I just feel like books with experimental formats can sometimes be a hit and sometimes they can be a hard miss. But this one was like hit, hit, hit. And I'm okay with it. I'd rather have a hit than a miss. I'm gonna try to rank them best to worst, but just know that I recommend each of these books. For the best, we've got Several People Are Typing, fantastic use of the Slack format. Then I have Multiple Choice. This one was poetic, and then it also just like got me thinking deep thoughts. And finally, we've got LMNOP. This book was just very clever and I really enjoyed it. That's my ranking and that is the end of the video. Be sure to let me know down below in the comments all your thoughts on today's video. Also, let me know down below in the comments a book that you read that had an experimental format and how you felt about it. Did you dig it or did you hate it? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope your day is bright, that tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye.